Okay. Who dat? Anyone? No. Okay. Just by a show of hands, who here has been the victim or has been involved with a cybersecurity breach at their company or in their personal lives? Okay. Yeah, that's many people. So, most people, unfortunately, never think it's going to happen to them until it does. If you're a founder of a company, if you're an executive at a company, if you're a person, you don't wake up every day worrying about some mysterious person in a hoodie or some criminal in Eastern Europe or some nation state like the Chinese government or the Russian government trying to break into your computer systems and steal your data. But then unfortunately for most people it does. Just last week, Facebook announced that as a result of a phishing attack, they wired $100 million fraudulently out of their business to another account. During tax season this year, over 3,000 public schools sent the W-2s of all their employees, out, to unknown people. And countless thousands of other companies have had their intellectual property or financial data or the data of their customers stolen and evaporated. And the result of that is just people never imagine that this would happen to them, and so they don't take the steps proactively to get in front of it. Attackers often in the media, in common literature, in the news media are portrayed as omniscient, perfect supervillains, right? The sort of hoodie-wearing masks. But I can tell you as someone who did that work for the National Security Agency for 7 years that they look like me, right? Sort of human-sized gummy bears, sort of gentle, and often very fallible in many ways. But what hackers have over us in terms of their only core advantage is imagination and persistence. And so when most people in this room think about, how do I steal 100 million credit card numbers, right? How do I get the credit card numbers of 100 million people? The first thought that comes to their mind is, I'm going to go to American Express, I'm going to go to Visa, and I'm going to go to HSBC, let's say. I'm going to break into their systems and steal that. But of course, those systems are very well fortified, and those companies have thought about it, and they've considered and put many things into place to prevent hackers from stealing their data. But you know who hasn't thought about that? Every startup at this conference. The Dairy Queen, companies that process hundreds of millions of credit cards like hotel chains. And we saw in 2013 that every single one of those organizations was hacked, and those credit card numbers from all of us were stolen. And so attackers continue to show us that their only real skill is not a technical one. It's not that they create more and more software, more malware, more tools. They know how to break into systems or defeat the things that we're doing over and over. It's that they've considered the edges of our lives. They've considered all the different places where data can be, and they'll never stop. It's their job 9 hours a day to go after it, and that's the thing that we need to counter. And for us, what makes it so difficult is it only takes one click. Right? For everyone in here who has a boss and you receive an email that says, I need this, or send me this immediately, if you're a reporter and someone says, here are the secret documents from this company and you can have a scoop on it, you're going to click every single time. Right? It's the psychology of being human. And of course, none of us are perfect enough to defeat that thing. It feels really good. And it's good business for the attackers, too. For criminals and for governments to wake up in the morning to register a new account costs very little money to send these emails and to walk away with huge scores, as we've seen time and time again. Approaches in the space today from industry experts are pathetic. Okay? One of the most common approaches that people take is they try to train their users. Does anyone in this room remember anything from their sex ed class? Right? How could we possibly expect that the hundreds or thousands of employees that we have working for us, the tens of employees at your small company, or even us, could know every nuance about how to defeat attackers? And also, again, we'd have to be perfect every single time. And as I said, sometimes it just feels really good to click on a link, right, or to download a file. And of course, people have been investing millions of dollars. This year, some of the largest banks will employ thousands of individuals, will invest hundreds of millions of dollars in their security programs, and breaches are still happening, right? It's as if the entire industry is getting a C and is extremely, really proud of it. And that's because they're focusing on technical nuances, right? If you follow this at all, or if you walk through the airport in San Francisco like I do, you might see things about ransomware, you might see very exotic terms popping up all the time. But it turns out that in 95% of all of the events that are happening, it's phishing, right? It's common email and common web tricks that are being used to lure individuals like myself and like yourselves to put our usernames and passwords, is what happened in the election this year, to unwittingly just send W-2s and financial data out, is what happened to Snapchat, what happened to Google and Facebook, what happened to countless of public schools, as I mentioned, or to download files, which happen to all of us all the time, whether it's ransomware or some other, made-up mystery name for, malware. It's all really the same thing, right? It's phishing, and that's something that can be controlled, right? And that's something where you can get in front of it. And so rather than focusing on taking action at a point in time where it's too late to change the outcomes, what if we could do something where we would be in front of it? Take a vaccine, right? Take an umbrella out when you hear it's going to rain. Take action, get in front of it. And so I'm happy to talk with folks here afterwards, and I'd love to make sure that everyone here knows that whether or not you are the largest company in the world or the smallest company or an individual, there is an opportunity to take action today to get in front of this, to protect your business, and I hope that that'll be good. I'm open for questions. Anyone? Thoughts? Anyone want to talk about the Saints? Okay, cool. Any other questions?